What's going on, boys? It is day number 28. Also, 4 weeks into reading Job. I want to thank you for everybody who has been sticking around with this series. I hope that you guys are having a great Monday on this rainy day here in Eastern North Carolina. Or if you're living somewhere else, I hope you're having a great Monday as well. We are going to be looking at a new kind of topic for Job today. It's actually going to be titled Where Wisdom is Found. Now, I don't know if I actually covered one of these topics on this series of videos that I upload, but I remember reading about wisdom and kind of the process of searching for it in the book of Proverbs that I read back in January. And I want to kind of look at this message that is given by Job to, really, help us understand, where this wisdom that, not only helps us to answer questions, but helps us to differentiate what is right and what is wrong. I was listening to a series in my church about 2 weeks ago about this, and it was about the Holy Spirit, and that the Holy Spirit is given to us. It was given to us after Jesus left for heaven. And, the Holy Spirit, when we accept him into our hearts, he helps us to differentiate what is right and what is wrong. He tells us, okay, that's good. You should do that, or no, don't associate with that. And, that's what really helps us to really grow that bar of wisdom. So where we see it starts here and it just kind of slowly rises over time. It's a slow building with a step by step. It's almost like a building block process. Think of like Jenga, for example. You put one row on, then you put another, and then another. It's just over and over. It's stack and stack and stack. Next thing you know, it's standing really tall. It's the same thing with wisdom. Stack one level at a time, and eventually it will become a tall piece of structure. It will be the skyscraper of your mind that towers over everything else. And once it does, it will rule over everything. It will take over the way that you think, the way that you look at others, and that's what we need to do. We need to do it with the wisdom from God himself. First, I want to look at verses 12 through 15. Now, the first 11 verses really just covers the what I would say is the process that we kind of obtain what we consider valuable objects. So things like the gold and the stones and silver and stuff like that. So like the pieces of like jewelry that people would search for, really that they kind of still search for today in mines, that they would go and find these valuable things and sell for currency so that they can become rich. But really, if you want to become really enriched with wisdom and enriched with knowledge, it's not by going and finding these stones that look pretty and may be worth thousands or maybe millions of dollars. So let's look at verses 12 through 15, where Job says, "But where can wisdom be found? Where does understanding dwell? No mortal comprehends its worth. It cannot be found in the land of the living. The deep says, it is not in me. The sea says, it is not with me. It cannot be bought with the finest gold, nor can its price be weighed out in silver." So right off the bat, a kind of summary statement that we could say is that true wisdom is not attainable by earthly material. It's not attained by earthly matters. So it says it cannot be found in the land of the living. So in other words, you're not going to find wisdom here on earth. You're not going to find wisdom by going to these deep mines and trying to find gold, or trying to find these pearls in the ocean. Like, you're not going to find it. That's not wisdom. That is a pleasing factor that may bring you joy, but in the moment. But how does that help you in the long run? How does it better your heart? Does it grow your heart? And from earthly things, that's no. It may grow your mind. It may grow the way you think, oh, well, that's great. I can search for this. This will give me a lot of things. This will give me a lot of attention. Whereas a true follower of Christ, it's not about having attention. It's about sharing with others the gloriness of God, how they can be saved, how they can be redeemed from the things of their past, and how they can move forward. Another thing, wisdom is far more valuable than any jewel from earth. It says in, verse 15, it cannot be bought with the finest gold, nor can the price be weighed out with silver. So there is nothing even comparable to wisdom. So why would you want to sit there and take these things that are less of value when you could go out and you could have wisdom? And the answer to that is how much time it'll take. I myself, and I'm sure you watching this probably feel the same way. When we want something, we want it right then and there, right now. We want it right in front of our face. Think of it as, a piece of, a certain food. You want a nice juicy cheeseburger in front of you. Well, you can either choose to go and buy it from a restaurant. For example, you go buy it from McDonald's, Burger King, Cookout, whatever. You can get it right then and there. But is it a burger that is something that is very worth it? Or do you want to go out and buy the materials, search for the materials to make it, and make it yourself, and make it even more worth it, to where, to be honest with you, if you make your own burger, it looks a heck of a lot better than a burger you can buy from fast food. Number one, because it's a lot more meat on the patty, and number two, because it's a lot bigger and it looks a lot more healthier. Ultimate message here is, there's easy ways out of things, but then there's ways to make it right. Another way of looking at it is, it's better to make your own, and I'm going to be comparing this to food here, but just bear with me. It's better to cook your own meals than it is to go out and buy it. It's easier to buy your own meals than it is to make them. Why? Because it costs you less time, and people use that other time just to sit around and do nothing. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've been in that situation, but, it is much easier to buy food than it is to make it. Not because we don't have the time, but it's because we don't want to have to waste our time sitting there making it, because we want it then and there. We're hungry. But what we fail to realize is that that's a fleshly desire. And connecting back to wisdom, humanity cannot comprehend wisdom alone. If you take the easy way out of something, yeah, you may be fulfilling what you wanted, but that doesn't solve your problem. That only, temporarily pushed it even further. You just pushed it down the train track. It's like taking a car, you just pushed it down 10 feet. Oh, it's not a problem right now, but when I move forward, it's going to be a problem eventually. It's like, well, I got to figure out how to get it off. I got to figure out how to move it completely so I can keep moving forward. And you can't do that by just, we're placing in temporary, placeholders that you think are okay. But with wisdom can remove those placeholders and replace them with things that can allow you to move along and have no sort of pressure on your shoulders. Now, the question is, where can the wisdom be found? Where can I find wisdom? Where can I find? Because if it's not on earth, if it's not in the land of the living, then where is it then? Well, verse 23 through 24 gives us a glimpse of where that exactly is. It says, God understands the way of it, and he alone knows where it dwells, for he views the ends of the earth and sees everything under the heavens. So the understanding of wisdom is only through God. Only. So God is the only figure, the only person who understands wisdom fully and knows where it is. He knows where it is, and it dwells outside of the earth. It dwells with God. So in order for us to, become more knowledgeable and become more wise and filled with so much, gratitude, we have to look at the world as God does. Now, there is many different messages that express the same thing, but we have to remember that when we look at the world the same way that God looks at it, we really get a glimpse of how amazing everything is. And that brings me to the last verse, which we can actually make a connection to Proverbs 1. And verse 28 says, and he said to the human race, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to shun evil is understanding. So, in other words, fear nothing but the Lord, while also remaining faithful and confident during times of conflict. So when we fear the Lord, fear, what the Lord and He does in His power, that will allow us to not only grow a relationship, but it will allow us to look at the people around us and look at the things in the world and say, well, you're just like me. You're just at the same point as I am. And that's one of the biggest things that I myself am trying to better with, is understanding that, even though there's people out there who seem like they have it all together, or there's people out there who have these millions of dollars, or they have these followers on social media, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. What matters is my journey. What matters is what I do, because I can only make a change by things that I do. I can't just sit here and do nothing and think that my life's going to get better. And it's, I have to almost, tell myself that. But when I do, I really see these things come into play, with things with my workout, or things with my church groups, or, anything in general. And that's really a great way of looking at it, especially through Job, as he has gone through so much troubles. So, to summarize, if you've gone through troubles, I know that most of us want the same thing. We want to find a way out. We want to find a way to bounce back and be stronger. Find a way to become better than we were before, because we don't want to live in poverty. We don't want to live in separation. We don't want to live where we have nothing. We have nothing to bear ourselves with, where we are naked and we are in the darkness. We don't want that. We don't want to be alone. We want to have somebody. We want to embrace that love, and we can. And it is very much attainable for anybody. So if someone ever tells you that you can't become wise, you can't be knowledgeable, they are a liar. You can. And the first step with that is to fear God. Trust God, and believe me, He will make your plans, make His plans come into play. And they will come in time. They will come in at the right time, and you will be very thankful for it. And I can't express it enough. Love God so much, because He loves you. He doesn't love you any less when you sin, and He doesn't love you any more when you do good works. He loves you exactly the same, because He created you by hand, and He loves you no matter what. So that is how we must go out and love others. And that is the end of today's word. I hope that you guys have a great start to your week, and I hope to see you guys very soon. Peace out, boys.